Last week, myself and others dissected this degree that Cheyenne Bryant was gifted, that was so graciously gifted to her from this young man. He made up a degree. He made up a whole school, actually, to give this woman a degree. This is the only degree he's ever given out. And
I said, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
He had a whole bunch of statistic about his school, but basically he's a jack of all trades. Somehow he felt sorry for the slander that she's gotten, and he decided to gift her a degree. All right, he went on the Mark Lamont Hill show, and the breakdown of the questions that he was at Mark asked this man let us know that this degree, the school, and basically this man's whole life is a hustle and now fugazi as hell.
And y'all sitting up here beating and attacking on a black woman that's in power.
But what if I told you that there was a man in the United Kingdom that not only plagiarized his scholastic career, but he actually plagiarized his whole life 100 times worse than Cheyenne Bryant? Okay, I'm going to show you here momentarily, but before I do, if you haven't plagiarized your life, then I need you to hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button and that notification bell. And also join the channel membership, please. Thank you to all the new members of the channel. I really appreciate it. Try becoming a member if you feel it on your heart. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to read you an article, a brief part of an article, and then play or react to a video that will reinforce all the stuff I'm about to tell you. You're going to find this hilarious as hell, y'all. But without further ado, let's get into the life of one Jason Arday. All right, everyone, you see this article here from the BBC. It says Cambridge professor at the Center of Plagiarism Row resigns. Wait a minute.
Enemy spotted.
Now, of course, in the UK, the row means scandal, things of that nature. So just so you're up on the British jargon there, okay? Let me make this a little bit bigger so y'all can read it. It says here, a University of Cambridge professor at the Center of a Plagiarism Row has resigned, quote unquote, with immediate effect. On Wednesday, the university said it had launched an investigation into Professor Jason Arday following new information about his academic qualifications and honorary appointments. Arday, who became the university's youngest black professor ever in 2023, has admitted errors in his work, but said he had faced an unrelenting level of public scrutiny and personal attack and was not a liar. Where is it? Where is my sound effect? Not a liar, huh? But you admit you had errors in your work. That's a nice way of putting it, right? It came after a series of media reports questioning some of his achievements and allegations of plagiarism in his PhD thesis, aka this dissertation that we never got from Cheyenne Bryant, right? Arday said he had concluded that the only way to bring this chapter to an end is to step away. Now, I'm not going to read any more of this. We're going to go to an article, a video from the BBC. No, not from the BBC, but from a UK platform. And they're going to explain most of all of the things that this young man, Jason, plagiarized and how it's so ridiculous that I don't see how anybody could even give him a position anywhere, much less Cambridge, to be a professor of young minds, young adult minds, to mold them for the future. Okay, let's go.
Most amazing story, front page of the Mail and other papers. Plagiarism professor resigns as Cambridge investigate. The gentleman's name is Jason Arday, professor of sociology, who became Cambridge's youngest black professor in 2023, resigned last night under immense pressure because it suggested that he's basically made up his whole life story. I mean, there's no easy way of saying this, including plagiarizing his work. Can we just go through a bit of the details are important. So I typed these out. This is not all of them, but essentially.
Fair use to, I believe this is the Jeremy Vine and Daytime on 5 show. The title of the video is Cambridge professor Jason Arday resigns amid plagiarism row. Jeremy Vine. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, and I want y'all to read this board very carefully. That he outlines all the things that this young man basically lied about. Let's continue.
What he said was, my mother was a mental health nurse who holds 5 degrees. Just
read this a little bit before I let him continue to speak. His mother was a mental health nurse who held 5 degrees. It's his personal physical issues. He was unable to speak from the age of 2 to 11. He spent 10 hours a day in speech therapy 6 or 7 days a week. As a young boy, as 3, 4, 5 years old, he spent 10 hours a day in speech therapy. The doctor said there's nothing in there. He's a vegetable. A day before his 12th birthday, he said his first word, hello. Now, how miraculous does that sound?
Enemy spotted.
A day before his 12th birthday, he said the word hello. After the doctor's basically written him off and said he was a vegetable. He hasn't spoken a single word in what, 8, 9 years? Oh, by the way, he spent 10 hours a day in speech therapy from 2 years old to 11. I mean, but it gets worse.
That might be true. It's been cast into doubt. His problems then, unable to speak from the age of 2 to 11. I spent 10 hours a day in speech therapy 6 or 7 days a week. Now, people have gone back and they said where he lived, well, anywhere in the country, the NHS is not going to give you 10 hours a day, 60, 70 hours a week. That can't be true. Doctors said there's nothing in there, pointed at him, they said there's nothing in there, he is a vegetable. And then a day before my 12th birthday, I said my first word, hello. Doesn't sound true. He says he was in the BBC series 7 Up, which followed children growing up.
Okay, he was in a BBC series. Okay. All right, now, reading and writing. He said he couldn't read or write until he was 18.
Enemy spotted.
Who believes this hogwash? So you couldn't speak till you was 12, and you couldn't read and write until you were 18. You played football, both football and snooker. I have no idea what that is, so excuse my ignorance. He played both these sports to a professional level, including a brief appearance for the Crystal Palace. I'm sure this is some type of very high prestigious professional tournament or place to play at. So, I mean, doesn't this all sound like some out of a movie? Like this was just some kind of miracle kid and everything just somehow went his way at the perfect moment, right?
Can't be true. The BBC said he wasn't. Reading and writing, I could not read or write till I was 18. Football and snooker, he played both to a professional level, including a brief appearance for Crystal Palace. Seems untrue. Medical diagnoses, autism, dyslexia, dyscalculia.
Okay, let's read this. These are his seemingly diagnosed medical issues, okay? He has autism, dyslexia, dyscalculia, whatever the heck that is. He's deaf in one ear, has a brain tumor just removed before he got his PhD. He also had a stroke and a broken leg during a fucking marathon.
Ain't no way. Ain't no fucking way.
You see this, right? So he has all these mental and physical ailments and still somehow has a PhD. He's been actually a professor at 3 different schools, including the last one being Cambridge, was the most prestigious one. Couldn't speak till he was 12. Couldn't read and write till he was 18. In 2010, 13, and 15, he ran 30 marathons in 35 days, 300 miles in 3 days, 600 miles in 6 days, and broke his leg during the 2010 run, but he continued. And for charity work, he installed water pumps for a Brazil for charity water aid. He ran 600 miles in 6 days and just reading this. Does anybody else watching this video right now find any of this ridiculous that this young man somehow has managed to do all of these things? I mean, even one of these things is nothing short of a miracle, right? Beating, brain tumors, being deaf in one ear, breaking a leg, doing a marathon. Hell, doing 10 marathons would be great. He says he's done 30 and 35 days. Running 100 miles is great. He's run over 900 miles. Actually over 1,000 because he ran 30 marathons, 35 days. Means he's ran over thousands of miles, right? Couldn't speak till he was 12. Couldn't read and write till he was 18. Either one of those things are just miraculous to overcome and still be a productive person in society. To not be able to read and write till you're 18. How? And why is 18 the magic number? Because you're leaving school basically 18, between 17 and 19, you're leaving school. So you mean tell me you couldn't read or write at all until you turned 18? And you couldn't read till you was 12? And you're a professional football player. I mean, and you did charity work in Brazil. And there's other things they're going to talk about too.
Deaf in one ear, brain tumor removed just before his PhD, a stroke and a broken leg during a marathon. Running in 2010 and 2013, 2015, he did 30 marathons in 35 days, including, by the way, breaking his leg during one but continuing. 300 miles in 3 days, 600 miles in 6 days, raised more than 5 million. He's now rode back from that. He did water charity work by installing water pumps in Brazil for the charity WaterAid. They said, no, he didn't. We never send volunteers overseas. I haven't even come to this bit, which is the key bit, which is the academic work, large sections of which appear to have been copied. But there's accusations of violent threats. He's been threatened with a knife, physically assaulted. This is at Cambridge, and spat on, had rape and death threats and bananas sent through the Cambridge postal system. He then says, we're nearly there, that someone broke into his faculty wearing a mask, carrying a knife, and say, if you didn't stand down, I'm going to stab you. He tells the Cambridge authorities, obviously they're very worried, they install CCTV cameras everywhere. Then he says it's happened again. They look on the CCTV, they can't see anything at all. So attacked twice or threatened twice by a masked man with a knife. And his mother's house had a pig's head sent to it as a threat. He then names the butcher's shop it was bought from. The newspaper, The Guardian, rings up the butchers and says, did you sell anyone a pig's head? They said, no, that's the kind of thing we'd remember. Anyway, and as
I mean, this guy sounds like he has somehow managed to make himself the center of attention with all these accolades and all this, alleged, this misdeeds against him or alleged attempted misdeeds and threats against him. He has managed to be the center of attention for so long. So we got racism in here. We got miracles in here. We got, just unbelievable stuff happening pretty much like throughout his whole life. His mother somehow held 5 degrees, even though she was a nurse with 5 degrees. I don't know how that would be, why somebody would stay a nurse with 5 degrees. But you see this? This is either two things. This is either extremely miraculous or it is just undoubtedly ridiculous. I'm going with the latter.
Anyway, and as I say, the bigger thing of all of it is the plagiarism. Oh my God, Paula, this is terrible.
Well, one thing that you haven't added to that list, which makes this story even more complicated, is that one of the, as I understand it, one of the main people who are making these claims against him is actually an ex-Cambridge professor.
Correct, Nathan Kofkas.
Yes.
Who's done a whole, have you read his Substack on it?
I haven't,
well,
no.
You should then, because he's done a whole thing where he's taken all of his dissertations and put them alongside other people's and showed vast amounts of copied material.
I appreciate that. The point I wanted to make was you'll be aware then that this gentleman who also lost his role
and racism.
And the reason why he lost his role, exactly. And what this gentleman said was that if you are a black person, the chances are, and I'm paraphrasing, the chances are that you would never have reached the echelons of being holding this professorship, and that any person of colour, the reason why they've been able to essentially succeed in life, other than in sports and in entertainment, it is because of DEI, essentially.
Yeah, I think Nathan Kofkas it may be sidebar to this because it doesn't matter if this is true. But Kofkas said if you didn't have DEI, the only place you'd see black people in public life would be sport and entertainment.
Now, whatever this, it sounds like the individual that exposed him might not look at black people in the best light. And while that is definitely, I would say, more than problematic, if he exposed this man for having plagiarized all this, it does bring to light, or it does bring the concern or the question, how is he able to get this far with these ridiculous claims of his life? And they're going to say it. I'm sure that guy that exposed him probably was a white guy, another British individual. And he's bringing up the question, well, this guy, the only reason that this guy was able to basically get by with all these ridiculous claims is because he was black. Because if he was white, everybody would have just knew that this was hogwash, and they would just say, nah, man, this obviously is an attempt to, to pull the wool over our eyes, and they would have, kicked him to the curb immediately. But this guy, they didn't want to, rock the boat with race and things like that, so they let him by with this, this list of this account of his life that is just, again, just unbelievable.
I raise that
Yeah.
is because, of course, Ade has stepped down. And what he's saying in his statement is, you know, I continue to deny these allegations against me, but frankly, I'm exhausted. Because ever since I got this role, I have been attacked and challenged about who I am and my profession. And he isn't the first black person to get into a role who is attacked and challenged.
I don't know.
Now, I mean, do people get into roles like this and they, you know, they're questioned because of their, you know, race and ethnicity? Yes, it happens, okay? However, he's using that claim to pretty much get a sympathy play now that he's been exposed, if you ask me. Now he's saying, well, the black people are in these roles and they're black and nobody says this, no, and they get scrutiny and blah, blah. Well, not saying it's not true. But you, sir, Mr. Jason Arde, you're using that as a shield because you got caught, you got exposed. That argument doesn't apply to you, I don't think, or at least not in whole. Maybe in part initially, but now you've been exposed. You can't use that excuse no more. You're fugazi. You're fake.
Because I'm feeling, and this is me speaking now, I'm a white person, so maybe I can't see this. I feel people have stood off him because of his race. What do you think?
I have a feeling that's probably also true. I also look at the where he says he's got autism and mental health problems. I feel like the minute you say that, people kind of go, oh, okay, I'm not going to go near this because if I cause offence or, like, you know, I say the wrong thing.
Yes, he not only used color, but he used mental illness also as a shield. So people wouldn't, because it's another layer of discrimination if somebody talks about him, right? Not only am I black, I'm in a position of, you know, authority and prominence as a professor, but also have, you know, all these other ailments, you know, what did he say? He had ADHD and all this other, whatever the heck he said he got, you know. These are all things that in society people use as shields, okay? Because if, wow.
Can then somehow blow back on you. And I feel like he's been able to operate.
I'm just going to interrupt you for a second to say, an example on the plagiarism is he says the reason some of my work was copied is because as an autistic man, I use mimicry, which is preposterous.
Oh, I do. I find it, the thing that really gets me about this story is all of those claims are extraordinary and very checkable. And I don't understand how nobody bothered to check a lot of this stuff. I mean, this guy rose to the top of one of the prestigious universities in the world and nobody bothered to Google some of it.
Well,
the 7-Up thing was very obviously done.
Is it that people have stood off him because they're worried because he's black, or is it that they've actually been over-checking him for years, which is why he's fallen?
I suspect that he is right when he says, ever since I got this role, I have been challenged every step of the way. I suspect that that is the case. But I also agree, actually, I know it's a shock, with Peter, in that some of these things, you look at them now in the cold light of day, and we do have the cold light of day, but we look at them and we're like, really? You know, is that right? Can that be right?
Bad, but it's sick if he's lied about all this stuff. This is also criminal, potentially, because he's got a job by lying, which is
deceptive, isn't
obtaining pecuniary advantage by deception. However, he's got backers, as Paul has suggested. So this is Zach Polensky.
The whole affair sounds pretty sad. Again, I think it would be good, actually, if the investigation still was carried out, because I think it would be good to know the truth. The letter was about principles, and the principles was about the university being able to conduct an investigation if it needed to. It had already done, I think, 2 investigations and found there was no problem here, or that the allegations were unfounded.
As Peter says, so, for example, when he said I was in the BBC programme 7-Up, now that was a group of people who started on that programme before he was born. That's what makes me think maybe this guy's sort of sick in some way, because that's not the lie you'd choose.
But was he saying he was one of the children who was followed?
I know he says he wasn't now. I know he says he wasn't now, but he did.
I'm also going to say, I wouldn't really count the backing of Zach Polanski when it comes to truthfulness as somehow somebody in your corner, considering the guy got confused about whether he lived on a houseboat or not. If you walk out your front door and you fall into a canal, you live on a houseboat.
To be fair.
That's what's happened in this story, is it's gone into that horrible zone of race, hasn't it? And it shouldn't really be about that at all.
So what it should be about is a point that Zach Polanski made, which was Cambridge have undertaken previous investigations, and their investigations have concluded no wrongdoing.
I wasn't aware of that. I mean, John Moore's University in Liverpool investigated his allegedly plagiarised dissertation and didn't find anything.
Well,
turns out they probably weren't looking.
That's the thing. When you've got that list of allegations now, and the other investigation, you then have to start to wonder who was doing the investigations and should they be investigated? Because if they found this stuff, said we probably can't let this ever get out, I think that again is another bigger problem here, because I don't think it stops with just this guy. I think there is a bit of an institutional rot here right across the academic sector.
What were people?
That's another good question. If people investigated him and they found stuff and they didn't bring it to light because he was black and they wanted to touch and stuff like that, then not only has he lied, but other people that were investigating him were derelict in their duty to bring the truth to light. He's right. If it comes out that those things that this man read on that board is in fact untrue, there is a bigger problem than just this man basically lying about his life and his studies. Other people have covered for him by not bringing the truth to light.
Given a free pass because they're black.
Yeah.
Is that?
Or also the fact that institutions don't want to admit that this stuff has gone on and they want to protect themselves from that kind of accusation.
Paulie, you have the last word.
Well, that was the point I was going to make, actually. Or is this nothing to do with race whatsoever? And the real issue here is, how do academics work? How is their work peer-reviewed? And is it something that we on the outside don't understand? And that now we're hearing that there was this plagiarism or mimicking or whatever it was called. Actually, this is something that happens all the time.
But sometimes the biggest liars are the hardest to spot. And you know, you think about Carl Beach, who was the guy who made up incredible claims about sexual abuse as a child by Edward Heath and all kinds. And the lies were so big, nobody thought, is this true? Nobody could believe. Anyway, we'll see. But it's not over with this guy. We'll have to find out the truth of it.
Man, I don't know about y'all, but if you ask me, a lot of the stuff that this guy read off that this man allegedly did was completely false. But thank you for still here. Thank you for still here. I appreciate that. Yeah, Jason Arday. Go back to the article. Did you see this man? This young man right here. Says he's done all these things. I don't even know how old he is, but he's got some gray in his beard and his nose goatee. I mean, if he did this stuff, then no, I'd definitely eat crow. But if he hasn't, this guy's one of the biggest liars in the UK, man. He ran over 1,000 miles, 300 miles here, 600 miles here. His mom was, multiple degrees, and he had all these ailments. Let me go back to the video. Let me go back to what they said. Let me go back to the board. Yeah. He's got autism, dyslexia. He didn't read till he was 18. He didn't speak till he was 12. He played professional sports. He ran 30 marathons, and if it's true, hey, this guy's like damn near Superman. But if it's not, this guy's a freaking complete liar and a joke. With that being said, thank you for attending another episode of the Working Man Podcast. I am your host, Nicholas J. Fury. Let me know what you think about all of this allegedly fakeness down in the comment section. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and the notification bell on your way out of the door. And I will see you on the next video.